Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to dive in.
Awesome. So today we're tackling discipline. Specifically, what it takes to be a disciplined tennis player.
Should be interesting.
Yeah, we're looking at the Rafa discipline for this one.
Oh, nice. I've heard good things about that one.
Yeah, it's really fascinating, especially as Rafa's, thinking about retirement. Gives you a whole new perspective on his career.
Absolutely. I mean, the guy's a legend. To see how he built that level of success, there's got to be some serious discipline in there.
Oh, absolutely. And get this, they even got John McEnroe to weigh in on Rafa's training regimen. Can you believe that?
No kidding. What did McEnroe have to say?
Oh, we'll get to that. But first, I got to understand the basics. Like, what exactly makes a tennis player disciplined?
Well, think about it this way. You got to have those high standards, right?
Yeah.
Not just for match performance, but every single thing. Training, preparation, the whole 9 yards.
So it's like, it's got to be consistent, right?
Exactly. And it's the little things, too. Those players who hustle for every single point, they never give up mentally, and they're always looking for ways to improve. It's not just about talent, it's that dedication.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, what about the opposite? What about players who are, well, undisciplined? The book mentioned they're basically a liability to their team.
Yeah, and it makes sense, right? If you're on a team with someone who's not disciplined, who knows what you're going to get from them, you can't rely on them to always bring their A game, and that can really drag the whole team down.
Totally. Okay, so let's get back to Rafa. You mentioned McEnroe. What did he have to say about Rafa's training?
Well, even in his 30s, Nadal was still outworking guys half his age. I mean, just incredible stamina and dedication. McEnroe was seriously impressed. He even said Nadal is probably the hardest worker he'd ever seen.
Wow. And I remember this quote from Nadal himself that really struck me. Talent alone is not enough. Discipline is the bridge between goals and achievements. I mean, talk about powerful, right?
Straight to the point, isn't it? He doesn't sugarcoat it.
But then he follows that up with, you have to enjoy suffering. Okay, wait a minute. Enjoy suffering. What does that even mean?
Yeah. I think what he's getting at is that discipline isn't always going to be easy, right? It's about pushing through those tough moments. Embrace the challenges, because that's where the growth happens.
So like those moments of quote-unquote suffering, that's actually where the magic happens.
Exactly. Think about it like a muscle, right? You have to push it to its limits to make it stronger. And that can hurt sometimes, but the results are worth it.
Okay, I can see that. So how do we actually see this in a player? I mean, how do we spot that discipline on the court?
Well, the book breaks down like 8 key characteristics: mentally engaged, consistent effort, self-control, goal-oriented, that sort of thing.
Okay, 8's a lot. Maybe we can like pick a couple and really dive in.
Mhm.
I'm curious about mentally engaged. What does that even look like? And not just in tennis, but in like everyday life.
Totally. Think about it like, are you really present in a situation? Like, let's say you're in a meeting at work. Are you really absorbing the information, thinking critically, or are you just kind of zoning out?
Oh yeah, that's a good example. I can definitely see that. So it's like being present and intentional,
Yeah.
not just going through the motions.
Exactly. It's about bringing that level of awareness and focus to whatever you're doing. Like, are you deliberately practicing a new skill or just mindlessly going through the motions? That's the difference.
I like that. Okay, what about self-control? I'll admit that's a tough one for me sometimes, especially with procrastination.
Oh, tell me about it. We've all been there. But think about Nadal's routine, right? His training schedule, diet, sleep, he's constantly making choices that support his goals, even when they're not easy or fun.
Yeah, okay. So it's like you got to resist those temptations.
Exactly. Like resisting distractions when you need to focus on work or, sticking to a plan to reach a personal goal. It's those small choices, those little acts of self-control that really add up over time.
It's funny. It makes discipline seem a lot less, I don't know, scary. It's not this big, overwhelming thing. It's just a bunch of choices we make every day.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's about those daily choices.
And, it makes that whole enjoy suffering thing make more sense, too. Because if you think about it, pushing through those tough moments, even when you don't feel like it, that's got to take some serious self-control.
It does. And think about it like a challenging workout or a project at work that's really pushing you. It's not always fun in the moment, but that feeling of accomplishment afterwards, that's pretty powerful stuff.
Right. And maybe that's part of what Nadal means by enjoying suffering. It's not about masochism or anything. It's that sense of satisfaction you get from pushing through, from not giving up.
Absolutely. It's about finding that meaning and purpose in those tough moments. And that can be pretty enjoyable.
Totally. So much to think about. Okay, so we've learned a ton about Rafa and discipline, but where do we go from here? I mean, it's easy to be inspired by him, but how can we actually use these ideas in our own lives? We're not all tennis pros, you know?
I think that's the key takeaway from this book, right? The Rafa discipline really emphasizes that discipline isn't about being perfect. It's about the process. It's about those small steps, committing to them, and then holding yourself accountable. The book talks about tracking your progress, and always evaluating how you're doing.
Okay, I like that. Small steps, commitment, accountability, I can do that. But where do I start? Like right now, what's one thing I could change today?
What's something that's been challenging for you? Something you've been putting off? Maybe set a specific goal for the week or, I don't know, come up with a plan to tackle that thing you've been avoiding.
Okay, yeah, I think I can do that. So are you ready to take on that challenge, listeners? What's one thing you can do today? Something concrete, inspired by Rafa. Think about it. The book says, discipline is the vehicle that takes players from good to great. And where do you want to go? How can discipline be your vehicle? Let us know.
I love that. Great question to leave everyone with.
Thanks for diving in with us today. Catch you next time.
See ya!